Hello everyone, this is Lala, and today I'm going to be going over challengers who have done at least 3 seasons. This video is specifically going to be about the men. So I did a video like this a year or two ago, and since that video, there's been 2 seasons that have come out. All Stars 5, where All Stars Rivals, and threats and new vets. Sorry, vets and new threats. So with those 2 seasons coming on, there have been some who have reached the 3 season mark, both with the men and the women's list, and there's been some changes with the prior vets based on their performances in a positive or negative sense in these 2 seasons that I definitely have to take into account. I'm going to eventually review season 41, and I'm doing all this while 42 is filming, where I didn't do it earlier because I honestly just didn't feel like it and I was kind of burnt out. But I'm starting to get some of that juice in, and here I am. So I am going to break it down into eras. So the era 1 men, the people who debuted in era 1, then do era 2, then era 3, era 4, then rank them amongst the people in the era, and then I might do a total list. I'm going to be giving briefer descriptions compared to last time, so yeah, let's just get to it. Okay, so I'm going to do them all in 4 blocks when it comes to the era 1 men, and I'm probably going to continue that throughout the 4 eras, just doing them in 4 groups and then breaking them down. So, anyways, at 26 is John Brennan. This really is self-explanatory. He was on 3 seasons, Road Rules All Stars. Really wasn't a season. It was literally just a Road Rule season where no one goes home and there's no competition. And on the other 2 seasons that he did do, which were on easier formats, i.e. Battle of the Sexes, sorry, Battle of the Seasons and the Inferno 2, he was last place, so that's why he's there. He didn't do well in the old formats and never competed in the new one, so yeah. At 25th is Teck Holmes, who competed on the Challenge 2000, All Stars 1, and All Stars 2. So Challenge 2000 is a season where no one goes home. It's really just 2 teams competing against one another, and it's hard to really break down the accomplishments of individuals in that season. He was booted second last out of the men in All Stars 1, and he didn't make it to the final in All Stars 2, which is why he isn't last. But when you look at his All Stars 2 game, he definitely benefited from a few weird circumstances. He has a 1-1 elimination record, so nothing good or bad there. But in general, really doesn't have much success, and the one successful CC he does have is kind of spotty, anyways. At 24th is Dan Renzi, who won Extreme Challenge, played on Battle of the Sexes 1 and the Inferno 2. So here's a 1-1 elimination record, both coming from the Inferno 2. Extreme Challenge was on a season where no one went home and tried to look into everyone's accomplishments, so the weaker format there. Even Battle of the Sexes had a weaker format, though he was booted twice in that season, which really says a lot since it was performance based. And I think he was gone by like the first half for good, so not a good performance there. And obviously Inferno 2, not many people went home in the season. But anyways, he only competed in the old era and wasn't really that successful. So at 23rd is David Burns, who played on Challenge 2000, the Inferno 1, and the Gauntlet 2. So he only really played in the old era. Challenge 2000 was a season where no one went home and it had a really, really weak format. So not much to say there. He did get booted right before the final on Inferno 1, but it really kind of seemed like he was carried by CT on that season and him being a male. He didn't really do much impressive on that season. And the Gauntlet too, I guess he held his own somewhat, but he wasn't a standout competitor there. And they were the runner-ups on the vet team, and that's his final season. So in some ways, it looked like he thrived in the older era, but he has the 0-1 elimination record. And when you really break it down, he himself didn't do a whole lot during his brief time on the show. So at 22nd is Syrus Yarborough, who played on Extreme Challenge, Battle of the Sexes 1, The Inferno 1, The Gauntlet 2, The Ruins, All Stars 1, All Stars 3, and All Stars 4. So he definitely has several seasons under his belt, unlike most of the people that I discussed below him. I think all the ones below him only did 3 seasons, where he has 8. But unfortunately, when you look at all of his 8 seasons, he won Extreme Challenge with weaker formats because no one went home during those first 4 seasons. And it's just two big teams, so that doesn't hold much weight. He did make it to the final on the Inferno one, and I believe he had to win a lifesaver. And one of themselves his arguably only impressive season. But when you look at all of his other runs, he either goes home midway or very early. So that's really not good, and it definitely weakened his record. I feel like him doing All Stars definitely dropped his stock a lot more, where he would have been a bit higher had he ended it on the ruins. And he has a 2 to 5 elimination record, so really, really, really poor there. At 21st is Eric Nice, who won World Rules All Stars, Battle of the Sexes 2, and also played on Battle of the Sexes 1. So the thing with him is that he only played on the older era season, and all the seasons that he played in had older, weaker formats. World Rules All Stars was a competitive season, and everyone won. And then he played on the 2 of the Sexes seasons that definitely benefited from the Sixes dynamics. There are no eliminations. And I guess you can mention on this last season, he benefited from being in that vet alliance. But when you really look at it, he didn't play in any recent format, so no eliminations. You really can't track down his individual traits. And his game's just very, very, very ancient when it comes to the format, and it didn't age well due to that. Alrighty, so this next group of people that you see here generally have a lot more seasons compared to the ones that I just talked about. They played in a lot more seasons that have more modern formats compared to the others. And there are a few at the very, very, very top that were very, very, very successful in their OG era and could have been more higher up and continue that stride if they played in more modern seasons, but we never got to see that. And there are others who definitely are a lot more balanced with that. Anyways, so at 20th is Adam King, who was on Battle of Sexes 2, Gauntlet 3, The Duel 2, The Ruins, and Rivals 1. So 6 seasons there. He has a 2 to 3 elimination record, so not good, but not the worst. He did get to be the runner up on the Gauntlet 3, but that was obviously due to the stacked veteran team where that would have kind of happened anyways. And he had a very, very, very good run on his final season, Rivals 1, though it's alleged that he may have to do that. But that season definitely held him up to make it this high. So when you look at his other seasons, he went home relatively early on about other sixes too. He was DQ'd last on the Duel 2 due to the fight with CT. He didn't last too long or really long at all on the Ruins. And the Gauntlet 2, I think, is kind of like the early midpoint as well. So yeah, not a whole lot going for him, but played in a bit more modern seasons and has a few stronger seasons in comparison. So at 19th is Latterian Wallace. And what's interesting with him is that he was kind of seen as the OG flop, where obviously he was the runner on Extreme Challenge, but like I mentioned, the first 4 seasons have very weak formats since no one went home. He was booted immediately on Battle of the Sexes 1, and while he wasn't an early boot on the Gauntlet 1, he performed very, very poorly in the dailies. It really wasn't until All Stars 1 and All Stars 2 where he really held his own. He won his few eliminations there, but things just kind of got weaker at the end, and it showed that his strengths were mainly physical, especially from the All Stars run where he was booted both the first 2 seasons in the second to last round before the final, and then he was moved early on All Stars 3. So he only has two strong seasons. They were in the modern format, but even those were on easier All Star seasons, and he does have a very weak record otherwise. He has a 2 to 4 elimination record too. So at 18th is Ace Amerson. He kind of has a similar thing going on with some of these people where they have two pretty solid seasons and the rest are either middling or very poor. He was the first out on the Inferno 1 and All Stars 1. He was also the second boot on the Battle of the Sixes 2. So those are three outright horrible seasons. The Gauntlet 2, I think he was like a mid-season boot, so not really notable there. And he made it to be a runner up on the Inferno 3, though I don't think he had the most impressive performances there. But I guess he wasn't the worst since he made it to the final. And then he made it to the final on All Stars 4, where he placed fourth, and that was his strong season there. So you could argue maybe the competition there wasn't the greatest. So essentially, he really only has two seasons holding him up here, three very poor seasons, and a meh at best season, and it's a mix of older season format and modern season formats. So I could talk about the next two people here since they're actually kind of similar. Yeah, I'll kind of talk about them briefly at the same time. And at 17th is Dan Setzler, and at 16th is Jeremy Murray. So this is Dan Setzler. He won Challenge 2000. He was the runner-up on the Battle of the Seasons 1, and he was the winner of Battle of the Sexes too. So he's a two-time winner and not a three-time winner like Jamie, which is why he is lower here. I do feel like he played, yeah, none of the formats that he played on were anywhere close to modern. Challenge 2000 was a season when one went home. Battle of the Seasons was a Fallout season, and so was Battle of the Sexes too. So both of those last two seasons were a bit more performance based. He never took part in elimination, just never played on a season that had eliminations. So with Jamie Murray, he won all of the seasons he played, which were Extreme Challenge, Battle of the Sexes 1, and the Gauntlet 2. The Gauntlet 2 is definitely a more modern season, or at least compared to the other seasons prior to that, but the format was kind of wonky. You didn't really see individual traits, but obviously he held his own on that team. He won Battle of the Sexes 1 based on his performance, and yeah, that's why he is a bit higher than Dan, because he won three seasons, and his final season's a bit more modern than any of the seasons Dan played on. So at 15th is Yes Stuffy. He played on Challenge 2000, which he won. Battle of the Seasons 1, Battle of the Sexes 1, All Stars 1, All Stars 3, and World Championship. So if it wasn't for his last three seasons, he would have been a lot lower, but we do see a mixture here. Obviously, the season he won with Challenge 2000 was a season winner at home, very weak format. His following two seasons after that, Battle of the Seasons 1 and Battle of the Sexes 1, were very weak seasons for him as he was booted early on both of those. And he would have been like bottom six if it was just these seasons. Obviously, All Stars 1 definitely boosted his rankings a lot since that season only had the sole winner or a sole winner, and he won the final pretty easily, and he was under the radar there. All Stars 3, he definitely had to kind of defend his win, though he was booted midway there. And then he did end up making it very deep on World Championship, where he was booted right before the final on that season. So issue is that he's relatively inconsistent. He has two poor seasons, actually three poor seasons. One season where there's no format and two decent seasons. And he has never won an elimination, though he only did two of them. And at 14th, I have Timmy Baggy, who played on Battle of the Seasons 1, the Inferno 1, the Gauntlet 2, and the Inferno 3. So I literally almost switched him with who I will have at 13th, and you will definitely see who that is. So he only played on four seasons, and he did well on all of them. He was the runner-up of Battle of the Seasons one where there's a bit more political play there, though the format wasn't the strongest. He did win the Inferno one and was really the captain of that team that really helped them. The Gauntlet 2, he was the one who unfortunately had to take out Derrick, which no one really wanted, but he did end Derrick's streak there, and he was the runner up on that team. He held his own there. It was kind of hard to track. And then the Inferno 3 was definitely not his strongest season since he was taken out due to that stupid elimination, and it was his farewell. He has a 1-to-1 elimination ratio, and I didn't put him any higher because he's kind of like Jamie and Dan in the fact that he really only played in older seasons. We haven't seen him in more modern seasons in comparison, and he didn't have many seasons compared to the others who played in more modern seasons and had more to really show for what they've done to see them be multifaceted. And he has less seasons, and he was stuck in that OG era where I don't know how he would have adapted otherwise if we don't have that data there. Okay, so I do think that the next six are a bit meatier when it comes to their accomplishments. They did many seasons. Some of these people had had success in earlier eras and later eras. Some of these people were really, 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 really successful in the only era they did, which is the early era, or they did a few formats that are a bit more modern in comparison, weren't really that modern, and they have elimination records, and there's more meat to them compared to the other people who solely did well in this era. And you definitely see some of the more flawed people as well who had a lot of successful seasons and some misses as well. But overall, they're all relatively well rounded. So at 13th is Shane Landrum, who competed on Battle of the Sexes 1, the Inferno 1, Battle of the Sexes 2, Fresh Meat 1, Invasion of the Champions, Vendettas, Final Reckoning, and All Stars 5 or Rival. So he competed in many seasons. He was never really an early boot in any of them, but he definitely was booted mid-season in quite a few of them, like Vendettas, Inferno, one, and he was booted relatively later on in seasons like Best Meat 1, Battle of the Sexes 2, and then he made it to the end game a few times, like in Invasion of the Champions and Battle of the Sexes 1. But the fact that it took him over 20 years to make it to his first final on All Stars 5 kind of just says it all. Though it was a very, very, very close second place where he could have easily won that season, and he also had far runs in the likes of Final Reckoning. I think a huge issue with Shane outside of the one finals appearance is that he has a losing elimination record where he's 3-5, where he won three and lost five. So eliminations really aren't his strong suit. He can be good politically, but sometimes he's just way too messy for his own good. And obviously, his first few seasons, he was a completely different person than his last four seasons. So I think that's why there's so much fluctuation there. But yeah. So at 12th is Mike Mizanin, The Miz. He competed on five seasons. He made it to the final in four of them and was an early to mid boot in the Battle of the Sixes 2. He won the Battle of the Seasons 1 and the Inferno 2. So obviously the Battle of the Sexes and the Battle of the seasons had weaker dated formats, and the other three are team formats, though. In the three seasons he did that were team formats, they did have actual eliminations, so they were a bit more modern compared to some of the other only did this season. Hence his 2-0 elimination record. He was good in the challenges, he was a good leader, and he really was one of the main guys competitively in this era. And he ended on a strong note with his win on the Inferno 2. He isn't higher because he only competed in the older era. He we don't know how he would have done in more modern seasons with modern formats and heavier strategic cast and heavier formats. So good run, but a dated run. But it's the best of the dated runs, hence his placement here. At 11th is Steve Monkey, who competed on four seasons, and obviously his career is split into halves, with the first half being in the Gauntlet 1 and All Stars. Sorry, whoa, let me rewind that. He only did one flagship season in the Gauntlet 1. He won an elimination there, but he was good mid season. He really wasn't that notable there. All Stars 2 was also another early to mid season boot, but things really started turning around for him in All Stars 4, where he made it to the final. He won several eliminations to get there, though. He was in those eliminations because he didn't perform very well in dailies, and then in All Stars Rivals, where he had to win several dailies. Sorry, he won a few dailies and won several eliminations to get to the end, and then he won with Adam. So he has a very good elimination record with 9-2. I just wish his seasons were a bit meatier, and there's something kind of lacking compared to the others, despite his impressive run recently. So I lied when I said Mike had the best original run out of the people who only played in the original era. That is Theo Vaughn at 10th, where he was the runner-up on Battle of the Seasons 1. He won the Gauntlet 1, he won Battle of the Sexes 2, and then he was the second to last meet in Fresh Meat 1. And his performance in Fresh Meat 1, which is a lot more modern than all of his seasons, is why I put him up here and why he is higher, despite him having a 0-1 elimination record where his final season was the only season that had eliminations, and then he lost the elimination. He was very good in the challenges. He was good at leadership. He played in different formats, and he did well. But obviously, he had a limited amount of seasons, and he only played in the OG era, which is why he is here. The Fresh Meat 1 is more modern than any of the seasons that Dan Tetzler, Jamie, or Mike played in. At ninth is Adam Larson, and he definitely had a huge rise, even compared to last year. But his run on All Stars definitely boosted him a lot. He was on a battle of the season one, where he's kind of an early boot, but he was booted in one of the last few rounds. Weird format there, but not a good performance. He won the Gauntlet 1. He was the first boot on the Gauntlet 2. He was booted right before the final on All Stars 4, and then he won All Stars Rivals. He always did well in the dailies, especially in All Stars 4 and the Gauntlet 1, but in the other seasons that he performed in, he either got himself in hot water and wasn't as good of a leader as he thought he was, but we saw that he was kind of able to adapt pretty well in All Stars 4 and 5. He was competing with people much younger than him, and while the politics wasn't really there, especially in All Stars 5, I think he did better in All Stars 4 in that regard. He showed that he was good in finals, or he continued being good in finals. He played in many modern formats with much younger people, and he did a lot of challenges that were similar as all of the modern challenges on the flagship. So I definitely think he held his own, and he has a very good elimination record with 6-1, I believe. But he still has a few weaker seasons. His strongest seasons were on a team season or on All Stars, and he doesn't have as many seasons as the people above him, hence him being here. At eight, and the final person in this grouping is Abram Boynes, who competed on the Gauntlet 1, the Inferno 1, Battle of the Sixes 2, the Inferno 2, the Inferno 3, the Island Touchstone, Battle of the X's 1, and Bloodlights. So the thing with Abram is that we did see him in many different eras. So era 1, era 2, era 3. He didn't play in the very, very janky format of the first 5 or 6 seasons. So he definitely has that in his favor. But his really, really strong seasons are all in team seasons. When you look at 3 of the 4 seasons he made it to the final on, they were all Inferno seasons. He won the Inferno 1 and the Inferno 3, lost the final in the Inferno 2, and the only other season he made it to the final on was on Touch Throat, which is another team season. So you notice the pattern where Abram mainly thrives in team formats. Obviously, he was booted early in the island due to him essentially quitting. He didn't do well in Battle of the Sixes too. He was okay on the Gauntlet 1, but not a notable season. But on his last 2 seasons, which were the Era 3 seasons in Battle of the X's 1 and Bloodlines, which were mainly pair seasons, though he was only on the team portion on Bloodlines, he really couldn't adapt. Politics really wasn't his thing. He always tried to stay out of it and had this virtuous attitude about it. But we saw that he didn't really adapt the best to it. And he has an equal and even elimination record with 3-3, so he can hold his own, but you can definitely tell that Era 1 and Era 2 were stronger runs, especially with the format there, and he wasn't really adapting the best to the more modern format of the two Era 3 seasons that he did. Okay, so this final part of the Era 1 men consists of the top, and are usually the people that challenge fans think of when it comes to the best Era 1 men. They all have very, very strong resumes, and they've proven themselves in more than one way, and they didn't compete solely in the first era. So the first person here is Alton Williams, who played on the Gauntlet 1, the Gauntlet 2, the Inferno 3, Battle of the Seasons 2, and All Stars 1. So just from the jump, out of the 5 seasons he competed on, he made it to the finals on 4 of them, and the other season he didn't make it to the final on. He did make it pretty far on, and it's debated whether he through that elimination in Battle of the Seasons too. So overall, his track record's very good. He won the Gauntlet too, and he had a very impressive run there. He won a bunch of eliminations that season, though some mentioned that the competition wasn't the strongest. Overall, he has a 6-1 elimination record, so good elimination record. He won a lot of dailies, and he's 1-4 when it comes to final wins and final performances. I think the thing with Alton is that essentially all but one of his seasons are team seasons, and his first 3 seasons that he thrived in were team seasons, and we never really saw him get tested in other formats. Obviously, Battle of the Season 2012 was a team season too, but things were a lot more politically active, and it wasn't just two teams competing against one another, so it's a different dynamic there. All Stars 1 was individual as well. He didn't perform as well there despite making it to the final. And you can tell when his physical prime was over after the Inferno 3, and half the cast made it to All Stars 1's final anyways. Compared to the other 6, his resume is weaker, so yeah. At 6 is Landon. And I know many people would put him higher, but like I mentioned in my older videos, I also base this off of longevity. And if you haven't played in a while and played in more modern formats, it's hard for me to really fit you in here, at least compared to the others who's been proven to have longevity. So Landon's track record is brilliant. He won 3 out of the 4 seasons he was in, and the 3 seasons consisted of the Inferno 2, the Gauntlet 2, so 2 team seasons, and Fresh Meats 2, which was a paired season, and it definitely pulled him up compared to the others who only did 3 to 4 seasons and has a short track record but many wins, kind of like Jamie Murray in comparison. And then the 1 season he did not win, is arguably his most impressive in the Duel 2, which is an individual season, and he was easily the most dominant player on that season. So he played in a teams format, he played individually, and he played in a pairs format and did well in all of them. He has a 5-1 elimination record, and he won a bunch of dailies, and most of them were in the duel too. Again, brilliant track record. He would be higher had he played in more modern seasons and had that longevity, but he just doesn't have compared to the rest. Okay, so the next 3 to 4 spots are one that I can consistently change my mind on depending on the mood that I'm in, and if I think about it longer. And there are differences between where they were placed here and in my last ranking. But anyways, at fifth, I do have Brad Fiorenza. You played on Battle of the Sexes 2, the Inferno 2, the Gauntlet 2, the Duel 1, the Gauntlet 3, the Duel 2, the Ruins, Cutthroat, Vendettas, Final Reckoning, All Stars 2, All Stars 3, All Stars 4, and Battle of the Eras. So just from looking at this, he made it to the end game on all but 4 of the seasons, which is very impressive because he was on many, many seasons, definitely around like 12 or 13, just from what I can see here. His first 3 seasons, he didn't make it to the final, but he was always booted at the end game. He was the final newbie on his first season and was essentially outplayed there. Then he went on a streak where he was the runner-up on the Duel 1, runner-up on the Gauntlet 3, and runner-up on the duel too, and it could be argued that he was robbed on all three of those seasons due to the weird circumstances there. And he does end up winning Cutthroat, but some state that it's not an impressive win due to the great team essentially DQing and the other team just being Jen and Emily. But it is impressive that he did win, and it definitely bumped him up a bit because he is a winner, but he only has one win, and that's why I couldn't put him any higher. Anyways, he came back in more recent years where he was on his own on Vendettas, but he was booted right before the final there, had a good season there. Started off well in Final Reckoning, but kind of petered off. The Ruins was a complete disaster. That was in a recent season, but I forgot to mention that. He did well on All Stars 2 and almost won All Stars 3 as well. So those two seasons are really, really holding him up. But his recent seasons like All Stars 4 and Battle of the Eras were earlier boots and definitely hold him back. And it's essentially why I had him at fifth. And looking at his elimination record, right now it's 8-9, so that's not very good. But overall, he's always been a physical specimen, but I think eight might be catching up with him. And especially with the formats getting harder and harder within the last few years, I don't know how much he could really adapt. So at fourth is Derrick Kaczynski, who played on Battle of the Sexes 2, The Inferno 2, The Gauntlet 2, Fresh Meat 1, The Duel 1, Inferno 3, The Island, The Ruins, Cutthroat, 3030, All Stars 1, All Stars 2, All Stars 3, Battle of the Eras, and Vet and New Threats. So, just from looking at this, he made it to the end game in all but five of the seasons, and the five seasons that he didn't make it to the end game of were Battle of the Sexes 2, The Duel 1, All Stars 2, Battle of the Eras, and Vet and New Threats. So, two of those five being the two most recent seasons as I'm recording this also kind of just shows that he's not adapting the best, but despite that, Battle of the Eras was a really strong season because he was the last male on his era and he had to go into several eliminations. So he made it to the final on the Inferno 2. Not a whole lot to say there. The Gauntlet 2 was his notable season where he was the underdog. He went through several eliminations, but he got cut right before the final there. Did well in Fresh Meat 1 was in the main alliance, but he started winning a few dailies and then making weird choices there, which caused him to be cut right before the final. And then from the Inferno 3 to the Ruins, he went on a winning streak where he got in good with the Johnny, the Kimmys, and the Evan, which led to those three wins. And it is impressive that he won three wins, but when you look at them, all of them were team wins, which is good for strengthening his argument with more or with less dated formats. But team formats aren't really a thing anymore. And then he was cut right before the end on the Cutthroat. He was put on a hiatus until 3030. This was a strong performance from him where it was a complete it was an individual season, but some of the dailies were kind of done in a free agents way where sometimes there'll be teams, sometimes there'll be in pairs. But ultimately it was individual. He got second place on 3030 out of all the men, and he was the only one who never made it to redemption. So he remained there from the beginning to the end and never got eliminated. So that was very impressive. After that, things got spotty for him. He did make it to the final on All Stars 1, but that was a season where over half the cast made it to the final, so it's not that impressive. He was booted early due to his poor play in All Stars 2. He did get caught right before the final in All Stars 3, so that kind of boosted him up. And I already talked about Battle of the Air Favorites and the threats. He does have a 12-9 elimination record, so it's still a positive elimination record. And a lot of those elimination records came from Battle of the Eras, so that is impressive. So when you look at his record when it comes to the dailies and eliminations and stuff like that, almost all of them are physical, and the mental stuff has always been a weakness for him that he never really overcame. So adding with that, not adapting the best in the more modern seasons, especially post 3030 and also 3 really, and having 3 wins in the team era, that's why I put him at fourth. So at third place, the bronze prize is Mark Long, and I can't believe I moved him up. But he was on World Rules Real World Challenge Battle of the Sixes 1, Battle of the Sixes 2, the Gauntlet 2, the Duel 2, Battle of the X's 1, All Stars 1, All Stars 3, and Battle of the Eras. So the one thing that holds him up here is he made it to the end game in all but one season. And by end game, I mean he made it to the last elimination in all but one of his seasons. And that was in 6 seasons. Yeah. What did he go? Sorry, that was in 7 seasons. So he made it to the end game in 7 seasons. Obviously, the one season that he didn't make it to the end game on was in Battle of the Eras, where he was the first out. Obviously, he was very, very, very sick. And the thing with Mark is that there are a lot of seasons that he could have won, but he just didn't try to win them because he made deals in the back end. Battle of the Sixes 2 was one of them. Supposedly, the Duel 2 was another one of those. So he could have easily won those seasons or done it better. He definitely could have won Battle of the Sixes too, and he could have at least gotten top two on the Duel too. So stuff and like that is kind of why I struggled with where to place him. And even Battle of the Eras, I know he was really sick, but he might have done that to Derrick too. So it's like you never feel like he's really trying his hardest. During his first run in the flagship, he never went into elimination because he was always in a good position socially, politically, and physically, and no one dared to take him out or to put him in the sand. So he avoided that until the last elimination in Battle of the X's. One, obviously, I already mentioned that was thrown, that's been confirmed. In All Stars, he made it to the finals in All Stars 1 and All Stars 3, but he went into elimination a few times. He had to prove himself, and he can hold his own, which is why he has a 3-3 even elimination record there. So he's held up pretty well over the season. So the thing that has E thinking that his run's probably over is one, his age, two, his lack of endurance, especially because he's only gotten bulkier and bulkier within the years, and that isn't good for endurance sakes, and you never know if Mark's going to fully try or not. And in addition to that, the two wins that he had were in very, very, very dated older formats too. So the silver prize at second goes to Darrell Taylor, who won the Gauntlet 1, the Inferno 1, the Inferno 2, and Fresh Meat 1. He also competed on the Ruins, Fresh Meat 2, Invasion of Champions, 30-30, Double Agents, All Stars 1, All Stars 2, All Stars 3, Paradise, Battle of the Eras, and World Championship. So obviously Darrell is the first person who won 4 seasons in a row. And he had the record of having the most wins for a while. And his first 4 seasons is why even still today he's seen as such a huge threat. Even though when you really, really look at it, all but one of those wins are on team seasons. But his fresh meat win definitely still holds him up because that was a paired win from beginning to end. He was always in a decent spot politically. So that's really because he went under the radar and didn't overtly plot or whatever. After Fresh Meat 1, things got sloppy for him. Obviously, he made it far on the wins, but the fight with Darrell took them out where he could have easily gotten a fifth win there. He was last on Fresh Meats 2 due to West and Kenny plotting there. He went on a break for a while. He came back on Invasion, had a very strong performance since I was in as a team and into a season, but with the vets, there's only going to be one man and one woman on the season, and one of them would have won. So the format was kind of weird there. He went into a few eliminations against Bananas and Zach, and he beat them. So that really held him up there. Was booted right away in 30-30. He came back on Double Agents after a while and made it to the end game there. All Stars 1 and All Stars 2 were very strong performances there, where it looked like he was going to win those seasons. And he was doing well in the dailies and politically, but something always went wrong where he always got sick in on those 2 seasons. So All Stars 2 is very fishy with what happened. And he did make it to the end game in World Championship, which is impressive because there are a lot of winners there. But outside of some of those first boosts that I mentioned earlier, Bowser's 3, Ride or Dice, and Battle of the Eras were short runs there, and those are more recent seasons. So outside of that, he does have a 9-7 elimination record, so it's still in the positive, but it's kind of thinning out. He's very well rounded. He had to adapt throughout more modern seasons and formats, and he has 4 wins, which is why he is second. So number one was never really going to be challenged. It's Chris CT Tamburello. He was on the Inferno 1, the Inferno 2, the Duel 1, Inferno 3, the Gauntlet 3, the Duel 2, Rivals 1, Battle of the X's 1, Rivals 2, Free Agent, Battle of the X's 2, Invasion of the Champions, 3030, Final Reckoning, World Wars 1, World Wars 2, Total Madness, Double Agents, Spice Lice and Allies, Battle of the Eras, and Vets and New Threats. So obviously he has a lot of seasons where he made it to the final, and a few more seasons where he made it to the end game, and that consisted of most of his seasons. Obviously, he has a few early boots like the Duel 2 and the Inferno 3, which was solely due to his violence, and then he was booted second in Total Madness. There were other meh seasons, like, there are also some seasons where he left kind of early, like Battle of the X's 2, though that was due to fair circumstances, Final Reckoning, Battle of the Eras, World Wars 1. And then Vets and New Threats also just wasn't a good look for him despite making it halfway there. He thrived in his first few seasons, so those were team seasons that he didn't really win. And it took him a while to win, where his first win was on Rivals 2, which was a pairs format, which was a modern format. And the interesting thing with CT is that his wins came later, not earlier. So while he was always a very good player and a threat in his early seasons, it wasn't until the seasons and the formats got more modern was where he started to win. He won Invasion of the Champions, which was essentially an individual and team season, especially with the veterans. He beat all of them. So yeah, he took in Darrell in his physical prime there. He made it to the final on 30-30, and I think he was last in the final there. Then he won World of the Worlds 2, which was a team season, but it was a harder team season compared to all the others, since there were many, many eliminations. And in the final, half of the people got eliminated to Double Agent and Spice Lice and Allies. No, Double Agents was like a weird paired season where they alternated every single round or every few rounds. So there's that. Spice Allies and Allies was kind of like that too, where you had partners every, like, for the first half, you kind of just alternated. And then they were on teams, and then they separated again. But that was mainly an individual win there too. So overall, CT has adapted and thrived in every single format from Era 1, Era 2, Era 3, Era 4. He's had success in all of them. So that's why he's at the top. And really, no one else has this record. Though his elimination record is split even with 7 wins and 7 losses. His wins to final ratio is 5-10. So half of the finals he makes it to, he wins. He has a lot of success in dailies. And it's not just in physical stuff that he wins. He's very good at the mental stuff too, which is why he's just a step above everyone else in this era. Okay, so that is it for part one, which includes that when man, not a whole lot changed really because most of them haven't been active within the last 2 seasons, and the ones that were active, mainly CT, he's so cemented where nothing was really going to change. Maybe I changed a few people around briefly just based off of reanalysis, but I doubt anything's going to change with this list. Outside of the fact that the show might not be on in a year, but even if it's on for many other years, I doubt we're going to be seeing much of the Era 1 men. And even the ones that do reappear, they're so cemented where nothing's really going to change. Anyways, there's going to be the Era 2 men, and then I'm going to do the Era 3 men, then the Era 4 men, then I'm just going to publish it all together in separate videos. Well, the Era 1, 2, 3, 4 men are going to be separate videos, then I'm going to make a compilation video where I post it all at once. Anyways, thank you for watching. I'll be back for more soon. Take care.